Hi, I'm Jane, and I'm going to be talking about Carolinginian culture, medicine, health, sports, and leisure, followed by my group mates. My first slide is on Medicus. So the monastery actually trained them. They used cathedral schools like Lone, Reims, and Chartres, and then a couple other ones that are on there. I'm probably not pronouncing these right, but that's okay. Monks, laypersons, and clergy were the people in charge of practicing medicine, not women, because they were not allowed to practice. Often they were herbalists and charlatans, but they were unsanctioned practitioners. On my second slide, we're going to be talking about the training. So the Hippocratic Corpus, or as you guys now know it as the Hippocratic Oath, was used now in Christian use, but it was originally from Greco-Roman tradition. It provided guidelines about being kind, courteous, and respectful to the patients. It was written 5th century BC. And another part of the training that you had to have is you had to be literate, you had to be versed in grammar, and multidisciplinary. Essentially, you had to be a scholar to be a doctor. On slide 2, medicine versus magic. So going back to what I said earlier, it's on Greco-Roman tradition. Incantations, magic, superstition, and invoking the gods were common themes in medicine. Texts detailed length of time and illness, severity, crisis, etc. Cures tied to the natural world with virtue and/or powers were also included, using medallions, amulets, tokens, and blessings. But as Christianity became more prominent and wanting more control over this, they pushed out polytheistic practices to reclaim their authority. Logic and religious healing were often used from this point on. Influential figures in medicine like Hippocrates in 460 BC actually created the Hippocratic Corpus, They provided the guidelines, the theories of disease, and some concepts of how to treat people, which is very effective. Augustine of Hippo, 354 AD, medicine could be effective through the power of nature, not through ingestion or magic. He believed that there was an intent behind medicine that had to be carried out. Sorry about that word. Some recipes on my next slide are talking about the use of vulture. So if you wrapped a vulture skull with deerskin, you would have a cure for headaches. If you wrapped the eyes with wolf skin, you would have a cure for eye pain. Blood are used for rashes, and the tongue in the right shoe is to convene or to inspire adoration. And then on my next slide is some some images on herbs. Now to my next group mate.
My name is Kayla Wiley, and for my section, I will be talking about general health and life expectancy during the Carolinginian period. There are 3 main contributors that determine one's life expectancy and overall health: gender, social class and living conditions, and outside influences. Typically, men had longer lifespans than women. Overall, life expectancy was shorter than modern day standards. Unlike most men who died in their middle ages, Charlemagne, who lived an exceptionally long life, died at the age of 72. Childbirth was one of the main reasons that women's life expectancies were so short. Marriage at a young age and frequent pregnancies, coupled with a poor diet, led to significant death rates. Hildegard, one of Charlemagne's queens, was one such example. She had 9 children, but died at the age of 25. As for infant mortality rates, miscarriages, stillbirths, and child deaths were common. In fact, only 3 out of 10 children would live past their first birthday, and only 1 of 2 children would live to reproduce. For social class and living conditions, typically the rich lived longer lives than the poor. The rich had access to more medical care and food sources and bathed weekly. Warfare was common during this period. Viking raids occurred during this time, and civil wars stemming from problems associating with partial inheritance occurred often. Famine was another issue. An early or late frost or a flood would result in the destruction of crops, leading to starvation for many. On that note, I will switch from this depressing topic of people dying constantly to something a bit more fun. Here's Wally with sports and leisure.
Whoa, didn't see you there. My name is Wally Sample, and today I'll be presenting the Carolinginian sports and leisure that they had at that time period. So a very big sport and leisure activity for specifically the nobility was hunting. Hunting was generally done in the king or lord's forests and lands, and it was pretty much exclusively for them. And hunting was a very large sport. They hunted boars and deer along with a numerous amount of smaller game, but generally they were going for the bigger game. The bigger game is more interesting to hunt, and it kind of more simulated war for that culture, especially with the usage of dogs and horses going through the forest doing these hunts rather than trying to do it sneakily. It was very much more of a sporting event rather than a more so of a hunting survival event. And that kind of brings me into talking about peasants' role with hunting. Peasants, while the nobility did it as a sport, peasants tend to have not done it for a sport. It was for survival. It was a way to get cheap, because it's free, you're getting it for yourself, very cheap or free protein into your diet to kind of supplement what you were already eating. So it was done for survival rather than for a pleasure event. Hunting for peasants also looked very differently than what it looked like for nobles. They tended to do it in smaller groups rather than having big events, and 9 times out of 10 they didn't really have access to the lord's forests and things like that, and when they did, they could only hunt specific game, specifically smaller game like rabbits, squirrels, stuff of that nature, while they were more or less forbidden from doing anything bigger than that, like the deer or the boars of the area. Something else that also popped up in this era was the Carolinginian Renaissance and the general change of education for the time period. Education started becoming a bigger thing, and we started seeing a larger influx of literate people among the peasantry along with the nobility. Nobility have the money, so they've always kind of been able to read and write, but we've seen a larger number of peasants being able to do such reading and writing. Another really important thing too with the Carolinginian Renaissance that really kind of hard defines it is the saving of ancient works. A lot of these works and a lot of works previous to the Carolinginian Renaissance were kind of lost due to a whole number of things. There was only so many people who could translate and redocument things down, so things tend to have been lost at that time period. But with the Carolinginian Renaissance, there was a really large push to recapture a lot of knowledge and information and write it down to store it for the future. So we start seeing a lot more documentation in this time period and moving forward. So that is about it I have for sports and leisure, and we're going to now open it up to our discussion questions. I've been informed I'm doing the discussion questions. So, how did a shorter life expectancy shape medieval society, and how did it contribute to the roles found within the family dynamic? Discuss how one social class plays a role in determining one's health, and come up with a few examples of how being a part of a different social class can affect this. How do you think different social classes dealt with different aspects of their health? 3. What importance did the hunting have for the average peasant? What was it for nobility? Why do you think there was this difference? Why did education start playing a bigger role in the average person's life? 5. The role of medicine is not limited. Where do you think there's overlap in some of the other topics discussed in the class? What connections do Augustine or Hippocrates have to current medicine?
Hi, I'm Jane,
Hi, I'm Kayla.
and
This is Brewing by Us.
Today we're going to be doing some elixirs that we talked about maybe on the PowerPoint, or maybe we didn't, who knows. So follow along. We're going to teach you some non-sanctioned practitioner medicine, since we're women and we're not allowed to practice. Alright, let's kick things off. What potion are you going to do today?
I'm gonna make a stomach healing potion.
Oh, I think I'm going to go for the headaches.
Alright, so I'm gonna be using powdered vulture skull.
I'm gonna be using dried berries.
I'm also gonna be using jasper,
I'm going to be using dried flowers,
wild indigo,
lavender,
and some flax seeds.
and honey.
Alright, so first I'm gonna add these lovely vulture skulls. Add 3 little bits. Maybe
I'm
that's 4.
going to add some honey. It's going.
I'm just chomping at the bit with excitement here.
It might take a while.
I love it.
3 hours later. All right, that seems to be enough.
I agree.
Oh my God, no, it's getting everywhere.
It's alright.
It's not like we need to be hygienic or anything.
No, of course, we don't want
considering the time period, no.
This isn't even filtered water.
No.
Flax
We just
seeds.
got it from the river.
From couch, same thing. Oh! Alright, that's enough flax seeds for me.
And now I got dried berries. Don't they look so appetizing? There we go.
For the wild indigo. Here we go. In it goes. Perfect.
And now lavender. Here we go.
And lastly, some jasper. Now we're gonna give it a good shake.
And finally, dried flowers. There we go.
Perfect.
Now, all we gotta do is shake.
And of course,
We gotta test it on each
Oh,
other
no,
now.
Let's see him first. Let's see him first. Let's see these. What is yours for, Jane?
for headaches.
Headaches? No more
Mine.
headaches?
Mine is for stomach aches.
That looks like it would get rid of a stomach.
Or Cosmo.
Or Cosmo. We'll find
Who
out.
knows? It's a 50-50 chance.
Alright, ready?
All right. You wanna exchange them?
Yeah, of course.
All right. All right. Bottoms up.
And just like that, that's how you defeat your enemies.
I don't think she has a stomach ache anymore.